Welcome to Crosswind Service Online, and we are so glad that you could join us. We have been preparing for Thanksgiving week, and this week we are getting ready to hand out Thanksgiving meals to all kinds of families, and that's because of your support and your giving to make sure that it happens. Whether you packed meals or just donated some money so that a family could have a Thanksgiving meal, you guys are amazing. And I've found that it is especially important this year, as many of us have been struggling, whether it's to find time to be with people or just finding reasons to be thankful. In fact, we're about to watch a video that experiences just that. So why don't we watch this video together?
Well, it has been an unprecedented year. Crazy. With all the
stuff.
Yeah.
It's unprecedented how many times we've actually heard the word unprecedented.
Our dream vacation was canceled.
You got to keep the job you don't like.
You know they can see you?
But let me tell you all the no's, friends. No going to restaurants, no movie theaters, no movie theater popcorn, no state parks, no going to athletic events, no church services, and no...
Don't say it. Don't.
Hey, kids! You've got to be more careful with the toilet paper. This is all we have.
All the drive-by birthday parties, graduations, baby showers.
I will say this, I thought it was a little awkward throwing out that baby shower gift into the front yard.
You weren't supposed to do that.
It just feels like a wasted year. There, I said it.
Yeah, there's just all the time at home.
And all the time that we were made to spend together.
Hey, honey? Honey!
Leave me alone! All the heart-to-hearts. Goodness.
Speaking of hearts, our son, Jason, right over there, said yes to Jesus. Right at that kitchen table.
July 17th, 2020.
You know, I guess it's not really wasted time because God didn't waste a moment of it.
I think I have the answer to what I'm thankful for.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What is it?
Everything.
Everything.
stop our God. There is nothing, there is nothing. There's nothing that can stop our God. There's nothing that can stop our God. There's nothing that can stop our God. There is nothing, there is nothing. There's nothing that can stop our God. Oh, there's nothing that can stop our God. Oh, there's nothing that can stop our God. There is nothing. Mover of mountains, breaker of chains, Jesus has triumphed over the grave. Sing hallelujah, the battle is won. Nothing can stand against our God. Mover of mountains, breaker of chains, Jesus has triumphed over the grave. Sing hallelujah, the battle is won. Nothing can stand against our God. Sing hallelujah, the battle is won. Nothing can stand against our God. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Oh, hallelujah, hallelujah. I want us to go back and sing that lyric again. Sing that lyric, there's nothing that can stop our God. And what we're going to do is we're going to sing that over this year we've had, over this year 2020. We're going to sing it over our disappointment, over our victories, over our losses. Because you know, in all things that we believe that God is working for the good. So we can sing this with confidence. We can sing this with faith. We can sing aloud and declare it. There's nothing. Here we go. There's nothing that can stop our God. Yeah. There's nothing that can stop our God. There's nothing that can stop our God. There is nothing. There is nothing. Come on, shout it out. There's nothing that can stop our God. Oh. There's nothing that can stop our God. Oh, oh. There's nothing that can stop our God. There is nothing. There is nothing. Come on. There's nothing that can stop our God. Shout it out. There's nothing that can stop our God. Yeah. There's nothing that can stop our God. There is nothing. There is nothing. You cannot be stopped. There's nothing that can stop our God. Oh, there's nothing that can stop our God. There's nothing that can stop our God. There is nothing. Mover of mountains, breaker of chains, Jesus has triumphed over the grave. Sing hallelujah, battle is won. Nothing can stand against our God. Sing hallelujah, the battle is won. Nothing can stand against our God. Yeah.
I am so glad that you are joining us this weekend online. It has been an interesting season, hasn't it? We haven't been able to meet inside, and it feels like some things are going backwards, and we don't quite know where we're at. I just want to say thank you for doing your best to stay home and keep people safe. Some people have recognized in their own lives that they have a need for in-person gatherings, and we have started to offer an alternative to that. So on Sunday mornings at 10 a.m., you can pre-register to join us for an in-person 100-person gathering outside in the Grove. You need to bring a chair and a mask, and we're gonna stay socially distant. So I hope that you can join us. Make sure to check the website to get on the list and to make sure that we're having it due to weather. Since we are celebrating Thanksgiving this week, you know what that means. It's Christmas time. Time to bust out the decorations, time to play some music. Well, I wanted to share with you our Christmas experience at Crosswinds this year. It's a little different because we're not able to meet in our auditorium like normal. And so we have planned a immersive experience. It's gonna be awesome. It's called Christmas at Crosswinds, a walkthrough journey to Bethlehem. And it's a little different than past years because it is a walking tour. We have utilized part of our campus to make this awesome nativity story come to life. And tomorrow morning, November 23rd, you will be able to buy your tickets. Now, I know you're thinking, buy my tickets? Aren't the tickets supposed to be free? Well, this year they cost $5 because we are gonna get some live animals to really step up the story. It's gonna be awesome, so I hope that you can join us. I just wanna remind you guys about A Good Day in the Neighborhood, an initiative here at Crosswinds where we are focusing on being good neighbors. One of the specific ways that we were looking to be good neighbors is through an organization called Foster the Bay. And their goal is to get every foster kid in a Christian home and connected with a church. And the reality is, the pandemic has hit them and it has been really hard. And they still have a lot of room where they need foster families, support friends, and advocates. So if you want to find out more about getting involved, they have a virtual interest meeting and you can go on their website and register. In this week where we are talking about being thankful for things, I just want to say I am thankful for you, for the way that you have been supporting Crosswinds financially. And we just want to encourage you to continue to support us. And there are 3 ways that you can financially support us. That is by mail, our website, or even texting 77977. That easy. And again, just thank you so much for supporting us in this season.
No, I don't want it.
Oh, I want it. Peanut butter is a savory thing. Thai people know about that.
What is wrong with you?
What's wrong with you?
How fun is that?
Am I pregnant? Like, I'm so enjoying this.
It's salty and sweet.
It's sour and vinegary. It's gross.
I like how crisp it is. I also like that my mind cannot figure out what I'm eating.
The pickle's really tart.
Pickle and peanut butter are both very strong flavors, so they fight each other so hard for the dominant flavor in your mouth.
I love hot Cheetos and I love pudding, but
I don't like them together.
yeah.
Chili pudding is a thing. Chili and chocolate.
Yes,
powder
chili and chocolate's so good.
It's like a spicy, sweet garbage smell.
Oh, that's nice.
It's not terrible. Oh God, it's weird though.
It's like sweet on the outside and then crunchy and spicy in the middle.
Huh? Oh, that's
What
mayo.
is that? What? No.
What monster created this?
It looks like something you see on the side of the beach.
No, this is not good.
It's so salty.
I'm so sad right now. It tastes like potato salad, but with a banana.
It's like I'm swallowing glue.
Slimy, nasty.
Tastes like I ate a moldy crayon.
You know, it's because the textures are so similar. At some point, it's like, is it banana? Is it mayonnaise? Is it a nightmare? Is this even happening?
The goldfish look like they're in their natural habitat for the first time, actually.
It's like a salty cheese. It's weird.
This is the first food where like the only taste I can describe is funny.
My mouth is super dry now.
I think I like goldfish like this better than by themselves.
It feels like Hershey's Kisses.
It does, but then I'm very terrified about the underneath part mixed with it. It's weird.
That's amazing.
I feel like the pizza's screaming like, taste me, taste me.
Well, now I don't like it, but half of me still likes it.
This is awesome.
The marinara sauce kills it for me.
The Nutella sticks to the roof of your mouth, making the cheese stick to the roof of your mouth, so you're stuck with just the bread on the bottom.
You got Nutella all over you.
That's a woman's dream.
Well, the idea of foods that don't seem like they go together, but they do, is so fascinating. You just watched a video of people taste testing unusual food combinations, and I have to say those pairings looked less like a chef put them together and more like the only criterion was that they were weird. Well, before we go any further, I want to experiment with some food pairings that are scientifically supposed to work well together. So let me show you what I have here. I've got some strawberries with balsamic vinegar. I know, it seems weird, but it's a thing. I've got apples and cheese together, and then some chocolate dipped potato chips. Yes, potato chips. So I'm gonna invite you to vicariously through me enjoy these pairings. I'm gonna taste them and kind of let you know what I think. And then you also could just pause this video and go dig through your cupboards and see if you would also like to try these. So first one is strawberries with balsamic. Now I love strawberries, I'm a big fan. I like balsamic too, but so sour. Okay, we'll see. Okay. I can see how it does. It's kind of got that tangy, but kind of does make it feel more sweet. Yeah, I kind of get it. And actually, now that I think about it, I've had a salad before that has strawberries in it, so I accept it. All right, next one. This one is cheese and apples, which to me, I don't know. It seems weird. So I've got this slice of cheddar cheese on this apple. Let's try it out. Oh, okay. The texture's maybe a little bit weird, but I get it. I've actually heard of people putting a slice of cheese on their apple pie. I don't know if I would do that, but I would do this. I've had a charcuterie board before that's got some fruity things and some cheesy things, and I mix them together. So yeah, okay, I approve. That one gets a check. Next one, this is potato chips dipped in chocolate. Let's just try this thing out all in one bite. Here we go. Okay. I mean, the sweet and salty is legit. So I like that. I feel like the chocolate made the potato chip a little less crunchy than it would normally be, but if you're a fan of sweet and salty and you have not yet had chocolate dipped potato chips, I say you give it a try. So here's what I'm discovering. As I research this, I learned that what's happening in these food combinations isn't really so much about the taste, it's actually about something else. If you're next to somebody now as you're watching this, tell somebody if you know what it is. It's not really about the taste that we're experiencing, it's something else. Do you know what it is? It's not so much about the taste, it's actually about the smell. So much of our taste comes through our smell. And so when you combine certain complementary foods, what they're doing is enhancing each other's aroma and making them taste more flavorful. This taste combination that happens, or to be more sciencey about it, the aroma types and aroma profiles interact, and they bring out the fuller flavor from each one of the individual items. Now, I wanted to show you this today, not because we're gonna be talking about food, although that would be great, but because it's a picture of something that can happen in our lives. I want to introduce you to two practices that don't seem like they'd go together. In fact, they almost feel mutually exclusive, as if you can't have one and still have the other. But the truth is, when you can incorporate both into your spiritual life, they bring out something deep and complex in your relationship with Jesus. We might even say they bring out the rich flavor in your conversations with Jesus. See what I did there? So at first, these two practices will feel like they oppose each other, as if they couldn't possibly coexist. And I think we'll find that typically each one of us is good at one and not the other. And that's some of what I want you to be listening for today. Which of these two practices are you already doing? You're already good at, comes naturally. And which one is not so much in your wheelhouse? And it matters because if you have just the sweet strawberry, you're missing on the tanginess. And if you have just the bitter balsamic, you're missing on the sweetness of the berry. If any part of you has felt like your conversations with Jesus have been one note lately, a little flat, a little stale, it might be because one of these two practices is missing. And if I could just get really specific here, when you are in a wait, in a season or a time when you're on a pause, you're in a holding pattern, living out both of these practices will make the difference between thriving in your wait and just surviving your wait. Today I want to talk about a certain kind of wait that I think all of us are in. And specifically, I mean the kind of wait that comes as a result of loss. When we lose something, whether it's a job or a relationship or a privilege or an opportunity, anything really, this is the kind of loss I'm talking about. See, when we don't have something or someone that we once had, there's some version of grief that we experience, and it's that grief that puts us into a waiting period that we might not have been expecting. Here's an example of what I mean. Many of you know that as a church, we launched an organization for women in ministry called Lead Bold. And during this pandemic, we're continuing to encourage and connect women in ministry. We even held our conference in September, totally online. But our leadership team, which is made up of pastors and leaders throughout the Bay Area, we've been missing out on the momentum and the connection that comes with actually being able to be in person. See, we've got this vision to serve women and pastors and ministry leaders. And trust me, there's no shortage of ideas on how we do that, but we're so limited in what we can actually do. And then you add to that this leadership team I was telling you about is brand new. I mean, we're all still getting to know each other, and we're limited in our ability just to gel as a team and just learn how to work to our individual strengths and to be able to do the work that we all feel like God's calling us to do. But we can't actually get together, ever. In fact, just this last week, we had been planning on having an outdoor, socially distant gathering at one of our houses. And it was gonna be in the evening, and we had been planning, it had been on the calendar for 3 weeks. The week comes, and I don't know if you remember that week, but the weather just took a dive. And we looked at the weather and we saw that it was gonna be 46 degrees or something when we were supposed to be hanging out. And so we had to cancel. One of our team members wrote in our thread, if it's not a virus keeping us apart, it's a cold freeze. It's all just so 2020. So as the leader, I feel this sense of loss, in our momentum, in our effectiveness, and if I'm honest, there's a little bit of grief that comes with that. For some of you, maybe a loss that you're experiencing has to do with not being able to gather with family this Thanksgiving. A friend of ours tested positive for COVID, and so now their whole family is showing symptoms and they're in isolation. And so when it's all said and done and they wait out all the time till everybody's not symptomatic anymore, it's gonna be well into December. So their family is local, and so normally they would easily get together without even having to travel, but now they don't even get to see them at all. So many of us are holding some grief this Thanksgiving because the joy and the connection that we usually get with family this time of year has been cut off. Now, I do realize that for some of you, depending on how well you get along with your mother-in-law, some of your grief has been lifted. Am I right? But even you get what I'm saying. The list of our losses, it seems endless. And we've got a lot of loss these last 8 months. We've lost our kitchen tables because they've turned into our kids' desks. Our staff meetings have morphed into a screen. We've lost the ability to go where we want, when we want, out to dinner or to a park. Oh, and that one's a bummer, especially for those of you with little kids, because how else do you tire them out? Oh, here's one. We have lost just that feeling of security that we used to have when we were out in public. Now we have this constant barrage of questions did I wipe the shopping cart handle off enough? And why is that guy coughing? And is that table really 6 feet away? I'll tell you one thing that I've lost is my privacy. Like, I am never alone. My kids are always home. They never leave. And I've got one that can drive. So, I mean, there is no excuse. And that's all just COVID-related loss. I'm not even including what you might be going through that is totally unrelated to the pandemic. Some of you watching are going through a divorce, or you're going through chemo, or you're going through a faith crisis. It's been heavy lately for all of us in different ways. So I hope you see what I'm saying, that it doesn't take long for us to recognize how much we've lost and how there's some version of grief that goes with that loss. And the loss puts us in a weight. I want you to think about a weight that you're in right now that was brought on because of a loss that you experienced. I want you to ask yourself, where am I feeling grief? What has been paused because you don't have something that you used to have? We're going to look at someone in the New Testament who knew very deeply what it was to be in a waiting period because of a loss. And we're going to see how she engages in both of these two practices that I mentioned earlier, and how those two things together deepened her relationship with Jesus. If we can apply what we see her do in this conversation with Jesus that we're going to look at, we could thrive in our weight, even the kind of weight that we never wanted to be in. So this conversation that she has with Jesus is just before Jesus raises Lazarus from the dead. Now, I, like maybe many of you, have read this story so many times, but I never noticed something very subtle in the conversation. I want to show it to you today. We read about these two sisters in the passage, Mary and Martha, and those names might be familiar to you. These are the two who Jesus came to their house, and Martha was busy getting everything ready, and Mary, it says, sat at Jesus' feet to learn. And Martha gets mad and says, Jesus, why is she sitting there? She should be helping me. And then Jesus affirms Mary. And then Martha goes down forever in history as the busybody, the woman who didn't have time for Jesus. And she has become the subject of many a sermon teaching, don't be a Martha, be a Mary. Well, I kind of think Martha gets a bad rap. Besides, if I was labeled for centuries because of one thing I did when I was stressed out, I would be so mad. I mean, like just the other day, I told my daughter that no, I did not have time to listen to her song because I was watching TV. Now, I would like to think that that's not representative of how I am as a mom. So if that one conversation was somebody's only picture of me as a parent, that'd be pretty unfair and embarrassing. In fact, this year I've done a lot of things that I hope nobody would use to define me. I've eaten Halloween candy off the floor. Sometimes I do this. When I'm on my way home, I drive around an extra 15 minutes just because I'm not really ready to go back to the chaos of my family. Oh, and this happened this week. I was waiting at the restaurant for them to bring out the food that we had ordered online, and the guy was taking forever. And so I called again, and I was kind of rude, don't you see me? I'm right here. You said you were coming right out. And as it turns out, I was at the wrong restaurant. Now, I would be horrified if any of these actions that I just told you about defined what someone thought of me, like one low moment, or in my case, 3 low moments. If they would characterize who we are just because of that, that would be such a bummer, but that's kind of what happens for Martha. So for any of you who have ever felt like Martha might have been misjudged, you're gonna like this. Because today, we're gonna see how Martha is the one who teaches us about this unlikely pair of practices that just might change how you process things with God during your wait. So in our passage, what's just happened is that Lazarus is sick, and Mary and Martha, his two sisters, they send word to Jesus to come and help him. But before Jesus comes, Lazarus dies, because Jesus waited 2 more days before he comes. And then he finally comes to Judea. And then we'll pick up the story here. It's in John 11, starting in verse 20. When Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went out to meet him, but Mary stayed at home. Lord, Martha said to Jesus, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But I know that even now, God will give you whatever you ask. Okay, then we skip to verse 32. Mary comes out and it says this. When Mary reached the place where Jesus was and saw him, she fell at his feet and she said, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. Okay, the first thing I want us to notice is that they both express grief. Neither of these women hesitate to express their disappointment in Jesus. And I'd even go so far as to say that they complained to him. You weren't here. Why weren't you here? You could have fixed this, but you didn't. Jesus, you let us down. Here's what I want you to see. In the complaint, there is this honest expression of loss and sadness. They had lost their brother to what we assume is a sickness. And they have this closeness with Jesus that can handle being honest about their disappointment and their grief. In the Jewish tradition, this practice of lament actually had a very high value. I mean, there's a whole book on it. It's called Lamentations. So for both Martha and Mary, verbalizing the loss and how they felt about the loss would have been a practice that felt very normal for them. So my question is this: in your loss, have you expressed your grief to God? For some of us, it's hard to wrap our minds around that being okay. It feels kind of like a slippery slope to those of us who've been taught that complaining is not good and it's a bad habit, or maybe even it's a sign of spiritual immaturity. We have been told all of our lives not to complain. For many of us, especially during this tough season, we're trying to focus on the good and stay positive, and I get it. I am a 7 on the Enneagram, which means I'm super positive. Nothing will dampen my optimism. Tell me your problems, and I will help you pretend that they're not there. But even I know that the heaviness needs room to be expressed. Our loss has to be acknowledged. And what we see in the passage is that Jesus could handle the complaint. Some of you might need to hear that complaining to God is okay. Being honest about your sadness is very healthy. So, here is the item that we can add to our wait list. Remember, each week we are adding a few items to our wait list, which is the list of what God might want us to think, do, or be during our wait. So item number 8 on your ongoing wait list is this, and it's also the first of these 2 practices that we're talking about today. Here it is. Express your grief, trusting in Jesus' compassion. Express your grief, trusting in Jesus' compassion. Tell him about your loss. Be willing to admit your disappointment. And that's what we see both Mary and Martha do. Lord, if you were here, my brother would not have died. But what about the other practice, the one that pairs with this one, even though they don't seem to go together? If lament is the balsamic, where's the strawberry? Well, let's look again at Martha's conversation with Jesus, because like I said, she's the one that puts both of these practices into play in this exchange that she has with Jesus. And actually, we already read it. Let's go back to verse 21. Here's what it says. Lord, Martha said to Jesus, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. There's the expression of grief. But then she goes on. But I know that even now, God will give you whatever you ask. But even now, God will give you whatever you ask. Martha complains, but then she pairs her honest complaint with an expression of her faith. She is somehow able to hold this duality of complaint in the midst of her faith. It's the bitter balsamic and the sweet strawberry. Even as she was honest about her disappointment, she also expressed her faith in the power of Jesus. So this second practice, and our wait list item number 9 is this: express your faith, trusting in Jesus' power. Express your faith, trusting in Jesus' power. In your loss, your lament, even in your complaint, how can you also express trust? You know, Thanksgiving is just a few days away, and I'm a big fan of the perspective that we get at this holiday. You know, finding ways to be thankful. And, you know, 2020 is no different in that way. Even a year like this, there is so much that we can be thankful for. in light of what we're talking about today, though, what if we shift the Thanksgiving model just a bit? What if we expressed our gratitude by practicing these two opposing expressions that we learned from Martha? Being honest enough to verbalize our loss and being brave enough to express what faith we do have in what God will do about it. I want to invite you to be thinking about both of these mindsets as you're in your wait. But there's one more part of the story that I think will be a big encouragement, especially to those who are struggling with that second one, expressing your faith and trusting in Jesus' power. We skipped a little part of Martha's conversation. After she expresses trust, here's what it says. Jesus says to her, "Your brother will rise again." And then in verse 24, Martha answered, "I know he will rise again in the resurrection in the last day." And Jesus said to her, "I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live even though they die, and whoever lives by believing in me will never die. Do you believe this?" "Yes, Lord," she replied. "I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, who has come into the world." Okay, what's happening here is that when Martha expresses her faith, it's not really that she thinks Jesus will bring Lazarus back to life. It's more like, "I trust you. You will restore us all in heaven someday." And then Jesus says, "Well, I'm the resurrection and I am life." And then again, she expresses her trust. She says, "Yes, I believe you." Okay, let's skip ahead to verse 38. Jesus, once more deeply moved, he came to the tomb. And it was a cave with a stone laid across the entrance. "Take away the stone," he said. "But Lord," said Martha, the sister of the dead man, "by this time there's a bad odor, for he has been in there 4 days." Okay, let's not miss this. Martha expresses her faith in Jesus. "Whatever you ask, you'll receive. Yes, Lord, I believe you." But later, when Jesus says, "Open the tomb," she's like, "Whoa, no, Lord, by now he stinks. Don't do it. He's stinky." And it becomes clear that while she trusted, she didn't trust so much that she thought Jesus would bring Lazarus back to life. But Jesus, he takes her little bit of trust and he does so much more than she's expecting. Verse 41, "So they took away the stone, and Jesus called out in a loud voice, 'Lazarus, come out!' And the dead man came out, his hands and feet wrapped with strips of linen and a cloth around his face. And Jesus said to them, 'Take off the grave clothes and let him go.'" Jesus did bring Lazarus back to life. And I wish I could have seen Martha's face right then. I mean, I imagine that she and Jesus make eye contact. And he looks at her, not with judgy eyes that say, "Why didn't you trust me more?" but with compassionate eyes that said, "Martha, see what I can do even with a little bit of faith." And here's what I want you to hear for you. Even if your faith feels too small, it makes a difference that you express it. Whatever you can believe in or trust in, say it, even when you're still feeling the sting of the loss. Jesus can do so much more than we could ever imagine. Even the smallest expression of trust, he takes it and he honors it and he builds on it to meet us in such amazing ways that the next time trust is required of us, I bet we will be able to express our faith even stronger. So, which one of these two practices do you need to get better at? Expressing your grief, trusting in Jesus' compassion, or expressing your faith, trusting in Jesus' power? I mentioned earlier that chances are you're already pretty good at one of these. For some of you, you very easily express trust, but expressing pain or disappointment just feels wrong. Others of you, you can lament all day, but you don't really ever get to the other half, the expression of trust. So to those of you that are filled with faith and just trusting God comes easy and you believe who he is and who he says he is and he'll do what he says he'll do, your faith is unwavering even in the deepest crisis, to you I say this. First of all, Can you make sure to hang around the rest of us a little more so your faith can like rub off on us that don't have that gift? And then let me ask you, what would it look like for you to practice expressing your disappointment to God? Maybe this week, take time to make a list of the losses that you've experienced. And before you jump to an expression of faith, take that time to share your hurt and your disappointment about those losses. You know, really practice resting in the truth that our compassionate Jesus holds that sadness with you. And when you do this, you might experience a level of comfort and closeness with Jesus that you haven't before. Now, to the rest of you who find it easy to complain and harder to trust, what if this week you didn't necessarily stop sharing your frustration or disappointment with God, but when you do, you also take a minute to express some faith, whatever level of faith that is. God, I'm so mad that I'm not working right now. And God, I believe you will meet all my needs. God, why don't you take away this depression? But God, I know you're with me even in my darkest moments. Remember, the faith doesn't have to be big. You just need to express whatever faith there is. So, whatever is heavy on your heart, the loss and the sadness, express it. And then dig into your faith so that you can also verbalize your belief in God's power, even when it feels like your faith is too small. Actively and purposefully expressing both your complaint and your faith in the midst of it will not only deepen your connection to Jesus, but will sustain you as you wait. Would you pray with me? Father, God of all compassion, holy God who accepts us with everything that we have, our sadness, our loss, our grief, our disappointment. God, we come to you and we ask that you would strengthen our ability to trust in your compassion. And God, for those of us that struggle to believe, that struggle to know that your power is real, I ask that you would meet us in powerful ways. God, that with whatever faith we can express, that you would multiply it in the way that you respond to us. And God, we ask that you would show up in such amazing and clear ways that we can know it is only you responding to whatever faith we give you. God, thank you so much for the example of Martha, for us to see stories of people in the Bible who trusted you enough and knew you enough that they could bring everything to you and know that you love them and you care deeply. In Jesus' name, amen.
You will never leave. Your love sustaining me before I even knew what love was. You brought me here to rest and given me space to breathe. So I'll stand still until it sinks in. I would lean back in the loving arms of a beautiful Father. Breathe deep and know that He is good. He's a love like no other. You will never leave. Your love sustaining me before I even knew
My apples are turning brown. Hurry up. My apples are turning brown. Okay.
What's cellophane?
Big Lots, everybody. Did you just say what's cellophane?
Yeah.
Oh, millennials. Okay, here we go.
Bitter.
It's bitter. Ah, too much. Too much balsamic. So, what we have here. Dang it.
Play the video later. It's disgusting.
Okay, wait, there's something in here. Hopefully you can't see that on camera. Okay. The aroma. If you have a dang it. Oh, dude, these are like legit good. So good. Yep. So it's like a really big bite. I was too big.
Cut.